Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. And so for today's video, I'm going to be doing my top 10 books of 2022, and I am so excited because I feel like 2022 was the year that I truly got into reading. I read a total of 49 books, so these are my top 10 out of all of those 49. It was honestly so hard. I think I have like my top 5 that like are my ride or die books that were so good, but then once I was kind of picking out like the remainder of the 10, it was honestly hard because I feel like I could have fit like 5 more books in here. But yeah, these were my top 10 best books of 2022, so I'm so excited to go ahead and share them with you guys. So if you want to know all about my favorite books of this past year, then just go ahead and keep on watching. So to start off with my number 1 favorite book of 2022, it has to go to November 9 by Colleen Hoover. This book is so good. Like, I read this and I had no words. Like, I was speechless. The ending made me cry. This book was like I said, I can't even put it into words how much I love this book. So this is about Fallon and Ben, and so they meet on November 9, and then they decide that every year on November 9 they're going to meet up. They're going to have no communication through the rest of the year. They're going to always set, okay, next year on November 9, let's meet here. So that is this book. There's just so many twists at the end that literally just truly had me so shocked. It's just about their story, and I really like it because it's dual point of view, but also you don't get any like excess in between. Like, this book is just about every November 9, so you don't get like those in between like random days, which I personally really like. But yeah, this book is so good. I cannot say enough about it. So if you have not read it yet, you need to. 10 out of 10 book right here. And then the next book that I enjoyed so much, I feel like I have like a good like top 3, no, maybe like top 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, yeah, no, just kidding. I have like a really good top 5. Well, no, because I really like this one too. You know what? I don't know. Okay, anyways, this isn't gonna be like 1 through 10 in order because honestly I don't think I could do that. But except November 9 is like number 1. The rest are all just like really good that I just cannot simply place an order. But that being said, I would say this would probably be like my number 2nd book. This book was so good. So this is Every Summer After, and it's by Carly Fortune. And again, this twist at the end, I just love a very good twist. Something about a twist just really like gets me, and automatically it'll be like a 5 out of 5 star book for me. This book is just so good. So this is about Persephone and her family moves. They have like a lake house, so they go up like every summer or on breaks, and then she meets someone named Sam. And so this is basically just their story between Persephone and Sam, and it goes back and forth from like present to now. I think it says like, what does it say? It's been a while, obviously, since I read this. I read this over the summertime. But yeah, so it'll say like fall 13 years ago, and then it'll say now. So it goes back and forth between now, and then this one is like summer 13 years ago. So it's just like such a good book, and I, again, have no words for it because it's so good. And Carly has a new book coming out, I think in like May or June, and that is definitely going to be a book that I'm going to buy like a day of. I'm going to read it, and I'm sure it's going to be just as good as this one. I know a lot of people didn't love the ending of this book, but I personally really liked it. Such a big twist, and I honestly wouldn't change anything about this book. I just thought it was so good. So yeah, if you haven't read it yet, you definitely need to because you're missing out. And then the book that I think took me by the most surprise with how much I loved it would be Firefly Lane. Oh my goodness, again, this is a book that just like I truly was left with no words because it was so good. And this was a book that I had on my bookshelf for almost a year because I was a little intimidated because it's a pretty thick book, but I loved this book so much. If you guys have seen, they have 2 seasons on Netflix right now, and I definitely would say the book is so much better. The last season of Firefly Lane I think is coming out in July, and then there's one more book, so the next time I place an order for books I'm gonna get the 2nd book. But it's so good. I'm really interested to see. The book and show are a little bit different, but for the most part they are the same, and so I'm really excited to see where this last season of Firefly Lane goes, to see like how accurate it matches up with the book. But this is definitely a tearjerker. I definitely cried at the end. Such a good book. So this is about two girls, Kate and then also Tolly. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right. But it's about Kate and Tolly, and again, it kind of goes back and forth between like present and past tense, which I really like. So this just goes through their friendship, and then one of them betrays the other. So the entire time I was reading, I was like, okay, because they got into a couple fights throughout the book. So the entire time I was reading it, I was like, okay, is this the fight that's gonna like break their friendship and they're not going to be able to like survive it? So every time there was like a little fight, I was like, oh my gosh, is like this going to be the one? But it wasn't until like the very ending. Big plot twist at the end, and yeah, I really, really liked this. It was so good. I'm really intrigued to see where the second book goes, because like I said, it hasn't showed it on Netflix yet. Like the first 2 seasons of Firefly Lane is just the first book. So I'm really intrigued to see what happens and kind of see where the first book took off. So if you guys have not read it yet, you definitely need to, because this is definitely one that really took me by surprise, that I don't know if a lot of people have read it, but it's so good. And then up next we have another Colleen Hoover book. Colleen is my favorite author, so I literally love every book that she's put out. I think I've read either 12 or 13, and 2 of her books this year made it in my top 10, but absolutely loved this book. But this book definitely is very dark and very sad, so definitely look up the trigger warnings beforehand, because like I said, it definitely can get very dark and sad. So if that's not your vibe, you might not like this book. But I just feel like the writing in here was so good. I could truly feel the emotions as if the plot was like happening to me personally. Like I just really fell for the characters, and I just loved everything about this book. And then they also have a second book which is called Losing Hope that I really want to read. It's the same story but only from the other person's perspective. So you have Sky and then Dean, and so Losing Hope is about Dean's like side of everything. But this book, like I said, is just really good, and this one goes from back and forth. So it goes to like present, and then it's like 13 years ago. So I really like that. But like I said, so good, but read the trigger warnings. But this just goes through Sky meeting Dean and kind of their story, and then also Sky starts to figure out what happened to her in the past. So yeah, I really like it. Would definitely recommend it. And then up next we have a thriller, which I think this was the first thriller that I read, which definitely got me into wanting to read more thrillers. For the most part, I pretty much only read romance novels, but I heard great things about this book, and I think I finished this in like a day or 2. It was so good. I think it's also becoming a show or a movie or something like that, so I'm so excited for that. But this is about a married couple named Marin and Derek, and then their son goes missing, and so they're trying to figure out, okay, what happened to Sebastian. And then also there is kind of like a little bit of like romance in this, so I don't know if that's why I liked it so much, because you did get that like thriller mystery, but then you also did get like a little bit of romance on the side. So this was so good. I definitely did not see anything coming. There were so many like twists and turns and like the outcome of the book. Like I said, I did not see it coming. Could never have guessed it, honestly. But this book was amazing. It definitely got me into thrillers and like wanting to read more, just because this book was so good. And every time I post about this, the author like always comments on my book Instagram, so that makes me so happy. But yeah, such a good book. So up next we have another thriller. So this one is called A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and it's by Holly Jackson, and this is about a girl named Andy who was murdered by her boyfriend Sal, and then Sal eventually killed himself right after. And then this girl named Pip, she decides to re-examine the closed case because she personally thinks that Sal is innocent and he didn't kill Andy. And so for Pip's like final project of school, she decides to investigate this, and I really liked this because you really got to see Pip's like entire thought process. And then since it was for a school project, you got like journal entries, and then it also shows like text messages between like her and other people, and it shows, I feel like there's like other things too, but it's more than just like your basic like text. I think there's also like, yeah, like there's like a map and stuff like that. So I really like when books have that aspect to it, but I really liked it. And then also like at the end of all of her journal entries, she's always thinking about like, okay, who could be the suspect, and then like every time she introduced like a new character into the plot, I was like, okay, like this has to be the person who did it. And so it was just so interesting. I did not guess the ending. It honestly was something that I could have never thought of. I don't know if I just like read and like don't like try to think about it at the same time, but I don't know, I just feel like some people like read these thrillers and they're always like, oh yeah, like I guessed it, and I'm just like, how do you do that? But I didn't guess this one. It was such a good book, and I really enjoyed like reading along with Pip, and like I just felt as if I was there and I was with Pip like day of, like trying to figure out the case basically. I just really liked it, and I'm really excited to read book 2 and 3 whenever that'll happen. But yeah, I really liked it. And then up next we have The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I feel like this was a favorite of so many people, but it was so worth the hype. I heard so many people talk about this book, and so I was like, okay, I need to finally read it. And it definitely lived up to the hype. So this is about a Hollywood icon, Evelyn Hugo, and she's finally ready to tell the truth about her glamorous and scandalous life. And so she chooses an unknown magazine reporter, Monique Grant, to write her story. And so it just basically goes through Evelyn's entire life and all of her husbands. And again, similar to the book that I was just saying, like you get these like newspaper like excerpts, I guess, and then obviously you get like your regular text. But I really liked it. It was so interesting to go from like the start of Evelyn's career to like where she's at now. I just thought it was so well, and I want to say this is also becoming like a movie or a TV show or something. I don't know. I thought I read somewhere that this was going to become like a film. I could be wrong. I haven't heard anything else on that, so maybe that was false, but I definitely hope it becomes a TV show or a movie or something, because it was so good and it was really interesting. So yeah, I really liked it. Up next, we have another like feel-good summertime romance. This is called The Summer of Broken Rules, and I read this back in February, and I just remember loving this book so much. It's just like a really good feel-good summer read, and also they have a lot of Taylor Swift references, which we love that. So this is about a girl named Meredith Fox, and she goes to her annual family vacation in Martha's Vineyard. Vineyard. So she goes to a family vacation in Martha's Vineyard, and then her entire extended family is gathering for the big summer wedding, and Meredith finds herself dateless after being unexpectedly dumped from her boyfriend. And the tradition that they do is they always play assassin, and so Meredith forms an alliance with the cute groomsmen, and so she finds herself getting distracted. So it's just kind of about Meredith's time at Martha's Vineyard and how she meets this groomsman. And yeah, I really liked it. Just like a really good feel-good book. If you want a really good, like fun summer, like feel-good book, then I feel like this book is for you. And then up next we have Funny You Should Ask, and this is by Elisa Sussman. I think that's how you pronounce it. And I'm not gonna lie, I saw this all over my Instagram, and the cover of it really just attracted me to the book. I thought it looked really good. But the book inside was also just as good as the cover. I unexpectedly just randomly picked this up at the grocery store like a couple months ago, and I fell in love with this book. So this book is about a girl named Cheney, which I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it flashes back between then and now. So it's the then is about when Cheney was in her 20s, and she's a writer, and she gets a deal to write a profile about a upcoming movie star, Gabe Parker. And then it flashes back to now, which is 10 years later, and after Cheney has a divorce, she wants to continue her career and become a writer. And then Gabe's PR team reaches out to her, and they request for them to reunite and have like a second interview. So it goes back and forth, and it talks about their like first time meeting, the things that happen, like the little secrets that happen, and then they kind of discuss it 10 years later. At the beginning, when Gabe's PR team is like, hey, like let's do this second article, she originally wants to decline it. The truth is that Cheney wants to know if those 72 hours that they spent together were just as memorable to Gabe as they were to her. So it's just like their story between then and now, and I really liked it. It was a really good, feel good, easy read. So yeah, and again, you have your normal like text, but then you also have like the article. You have like Vanity Fair magazine, like you have other just like articles throughout, so it's very interesting, and yeah, I love it. And then the last book that I have, number 10 on my top 10, is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, and I saw so many people hyping this up, and if you guys didn't know, I'm a big hockey girl. I love hockey. And the fact that this was like a hockey romance, I immediately was like, okay, I need to buy this. But speaking of hockey, I know Elle Kennedy has the Off Campus series, which is about like hockey romance, which is on my list. I need to read it because everyone says that it's so good. So I feel like if I liked Icebreaker, then I would love like the Off Campus series, and I like Elle Kennedy's writing. I've read 2 of her books and I really enjoyed them. So this book is about a hockey player and then a figure skater. So it's about Anastasia and then Nathan. And so when a misunderstanding results in the 2 teams sharing a rink, and then Anastasia's partner gets hurt in the aftermath. And so then Nathan finds himself swapping his stick for tights. So yeah, it's just like a really good romance book, and I feel like there was a lot of just like little mini twists throughout the book, which I really liked, because don't get me wrong, I love like one good twist at the end, but this one just had a bunch of just like little mini twists throughout, so it really kept me on my toes. I really enjoyed reading it, and there's also a lot of spice, so if you like spicy, steamy books, then I feel like this book is for you. But overall, I really liked it, and I really want to get into more just like hockey romances because I love hockey, and that was something that I didn't know was really a thing in the book community, so I need to read all of the good like hockey romances out there because I really enjoyed this one. So those are all of my top 10 books of 2022. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and please let me know in the comments down below what some of your guys' favorite books are, because if you haven't read them, I definitely will add them to my never-ending TBR, because I think I have like 130 books on my TBR. Like, it's literally never-ending, but there's so many books that I want to go ahead and read, so definitely let me know your guys' favorites down below. Also, if you guys like the book content, I do have a Bookstagram, so if you want to keep up with more of my reads on Instagram, definitely go follow me on there. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you haven't already, and follow me on all my social medias. I will link them down below for you guys, and I will see you guys in my next video.